Hey, friend, welcome to the podcast. You Are Significant, the podcast where you will hear real stories from real people, and we will get down into the truths of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Now, let's get down to it. Welcome to another episode of You Are Significant. Today, I have guest Sarah Cox with me, and I am so excited that we get a chance to chat together today on the podcast. She is from the Dallas area. She has 3 living children and a daughter in heaven. She is a tax accountant and just celebrated her anniversary with her husband of 14 years. And she has her own podcast called Finding Hope After Loss. And she also has the foundation Journey for Jasmine. And she's just starting her 4th season with her podcast. So, congratulations for that, Sarah. Welcome to You Are Significant.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
I'm so excited to have a chat today and let other people listen in because I think it'll be so inspiring and a blessing. So, um, let's get started where we normally do and share with you your story of how God showed you your significance through the things that you've gone through.
Yeah, so my story is kind of long, so I'll just, sum it up best I can. Basically, it started when I was 16. I was diagnosed with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which basically means I didn't have regular cycles. So fast forward, I get married, we're ready to start a family, and it's hard to get pregnant without having the cycles.
Mhm.
So, we start seeing a fertility doctor on and off, and then end up getting pregnant with my son naturally after a failed treatment. He was born healthy, easy pregnancy for me overall. So I kind of thought infertility was going to be the hard part.
Mhm.
After we started trying for our second baby, I had 2 early losses. So I had chemical pregnancy. And then I had a treatment that actually worked, but ended in a miscarriage. We never saw a heartbeat or anything like that. And then we did another failed treatment cycle. And then after, again, a natural cycle after, I got pregnant with my daughter. And at 13, yeah, it was at the 13-week ultrasound, we found out she had a condition called a congenital diaphragmatic hernia, which means there's a hole in her diaphragm, and it allows all the organs to push up into her chest cavity, which then pushes her heart over and compresses her lungs. So,
Mm.
we were told 50-50 chance that she would make it, basically.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it
Ooh.
was devastating.
Yeah. Oh.
And then, long story short, with her, we were planning to go see a specialist who would do surgery when she was born. He had really good odds with CDH babies. But then we also were hit with another blow when we found out she had mosaic trisomy 15, which is it's so rare that I couldn't even really tell us what that would mean for her. It's just there's not enough people out there with it. So we ended up losing her. She was stillborn at 32 weeks.
Mhm.
She actually would have just turned 7 last month on March 11th.
Aw.
And after that, 6 months later, we did fertility treatment again, where it worked. We had our rainbow daughter. And then in trying to remember my years, yeah, 2022, we had a surprise pregnancy. So after all of that, I was very shocked after all we went through for the other pregnancies. So that's kind of just the big
Oh.
overview. So now 3 living children and then my daughter in heaven.
Aw. Well, you know, the surprise pregnancy at the end just reminds me how God, He does have a sense of humor sometimes when we're going through so many trials and hard things. And, there's different challenges, right, with doing the pregnancies that are helped with through, intervention. And then there's trials with what you went through with the pregnancy with Jasmine, and continuing to find out that there was complications, and just every week, every day, not knowing, well, what's going to happen, with this and with her. And I know there must have been lots of people praying for you, and lots of people wanting to help, and not knowing what to do and asking. So tell us a little bit about that, like what that was like, and maybe what some of your thoughts were.
Yeah, it was definitely hard. I mean, I definitely prayed harder than I have ever prayed every day that, just said, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just like, please let my daughter be here with us and be okay. And, the whole time I was preparing for a medically complex child,
Mhm.
I was not preparing for a stillbirth or a loss. Like, I thought, okay, she'll have the surgery, and then we'll bring her home, and then yeah, we'll have some challenges, but we can do it. It's our daughter. So
Right.
and then yeah, my family though, they were supportive the entire time, and we were going to have to relocate for the specialist, and they were willing to help out however they could. And it was hard because I know that they wanted to help but didn't know what to do. But
Mhm.
I didn't know what to do either. So,
Mhm.
it's like I don't know what to tell you because I don't know either.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. You're just going through one day at a time, one moment at a time, like the serenity prayer says, and praying for the best outcome possible. And not even completely knowing, well, what is that? But preparing for a special needs child. And so at the time you already had, how many children did you already have when you were
Just
pregnant?
one. I just had my
Mhm.
son, and
Your
he was,
son.
3. He was 3 at the time of our loss.
Okay. So what did he say, and how was he about all this?
So we tried to explain it to him as best we could. We ended up deciding not to bring him to the hospital, which is
Mhm.
something I actually regret now, but, we going through loss, you learn that you just do the best you can at the time,
Mhm.
and, that's all you can do, and you can't beat yourself up for not doing certain things, but it is one of my biggest regrets.
Mhm.
But anyways, he was 3, and so we tried to tell him in, like, age appropriate terms, like, she was too sick and, she died, and
Mhm.
he's kinda like, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna go play with my toys now."
Right.
Because he just
Right.
doesn't quite get it. And
Mhm.
as he's gotten older, he's almost 11,
Mhm.
and as he's gotten older, he's expressed more feelings towards her, more sadness about not meeting her, more questions, more things as he's gotten older. So
Mhm.
definitely, I think he understood it but didn't fully understand it until he was older.
Mhm. And sometimes people think a 3-year-old doesn't know what's going on even enough to remember, but he remembers, and
Yeah.
he has questions that continue to come out. And working in recovery like I do, I've even heard people share their testimony, their story, and talk about losing a sibling and how that affected them, and how their parents, didn't realize for a long time how much. Like, one man shared how he even felt like it might be his fault that the sibling passed, and a child has a hard time verbalizing that, like, even, "How do I put this into words?" But then as he got older, he was able to realize, like, that's what it was, and then grieve and heal, and so I just think it's important, and your story shows, let's not underestimate children, even very young children, that they do have grief. They still have emotional needs, and the old way, people would think well, they're just too young. They're not even going to really remember this. And it's like, no, they do. They
Yeah.
comprehend a lot.
A lot more than we, like you said, a lot more than we give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And we may think they're not getting it because of the way that, like, he said, okay, I'm going to go play now. So,
Mm-hmm.
to some people that would just be, okay, did you even hear what I said? Like your sister
Right.
just died. But yeah, he was processing it.
Processing. Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we lose someone, the processing um, continues. Like I think there's layers to processing loss. So I lost my mom in 22. And when I first lost my mom, um, I just felt such a peace for her that she wasn't suffering because she had been sick most of her life and definitely most of mine. And so, when she passed at 65, that's young to pass, but it was a lot of years of suffering for her with her health issues. And so was I just imagined her finally in a healthy body with Jesus. And and so I just really spent a lot of time in the first year with that relief for her. But then I began to miss her more in the second and third year, around the holidays and things like that, especially. How is that for you? Have you found there's stages, layers, like it changes?
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you don't know what kind of year it's going to be, what kind of day it's going to be until you wake up, or until something unexpected can just hit you, and it doesn't even have to be something directly related. It could be, I don't know, like you see the color yellow and it reminds you of being in the hospital, or just something. It can be anything. But I found the first year especially to be really hard because you're missing all of the firsts, like
Mhm.
this would be her first birthday, this would be she'd be walking, she'd be, all, so you miss all of those things. And then, when it hit 5 years, I was like, she should be starting school. That was a hard year for me. And
Mhm.
this year she would have been 7. And it's just, yeah, I miss her every day. I don't
Mhm.
cry every day anymore, but I think about her every day, and, I do miss her every day, and I still have a lot of hard days. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's definitely an up and down, like, roller coaster.
Yeah, and I have a friend that, had twins, and one passed, and the other was special needs. Her brain is developed to that of a 5-year-old, but she's in her 20s, and, my friend still grieves the other twin. It's not like some people might think, well, one lived. So even though one didn't, you've still got the one who did. Well, no, my friend still grieves the one that didn't make it. And so I don't know for her if the one who did live, like you said, when she walked, did she miss the other one who wasn't there to be walking? But it would make sense. And that your perspective of what you're sharing about your journey with Jasmine and your heart is still connected to her so much, even though she's not on this earth in flesh. She's still very much alive in your heart.
Yeah.
So that's such a beautiful thing. So tell us a little bit more about Journey for Jasmine.
So I started, I was lucky during my loss and after my loss. I had support from family and friends, but it's still going through it is really isolating and lonely, even when you do have that support, especially if you don't know anyone else who has been, like, through the same type of thing. Because as much as people try to understand, if they haven't been through it, you can't, like, fully understand it.
Yeah.
So that kind of led me to wanting to do, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something to help other lost families and other people that were going through it. So I got involved with pregnancy after loss support right after my loss, and I was writing different articles for them. And then I wrote about my pregnancy after I lost my rainbow baby. And then I kind of just started expanding from there, just posting on my social media, just some of the things that I was feeling about grief and loss and missing my daughter. And then, I find, oh my gosh, there's all these other people out there that have gone through it too, that feel the same as me. And it made me not feel like crazy for how I was feeling or weird, or, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel that too. And then it just kind of has been building from there.
Mm-hmm. So is this something that people can join? Is it a website, a page? Tell us.
Yeah, so I do have a website. It's journeyforjasmine.com. And then I have all my social medias under Journey for Jasmine. So Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube, all under Journey for Jasmine. And along with that is my rainbow skirt that I've been sending around. That's called Project Finding Your Rainbow. I actually wore the skirt for my rainbow baby pictures. And then I started sending it around to other lost families. And so now it's been it's 491 stories that have been shared. So we're like almost at 500.
Wow.
Then 49 states, several other countries that it's been to. It went to Belgium this year. It went to the Netherlands and Germany. So it's like starting to get around, and I think that's super cool. So
That's so
all of those stories are on the website too.
Oh, so this is the skirt you wore for your rainbow baby pictures, and
Mhm.
then you mail it. You mailed it to the first next person, and they mailed it back to you, and then so it's
They
been
actually just keep mailing it to the next person, and
okay.
now there's more than one skirt now because it
Okay.
just got too big, but my
Mhm.
original one is still out there. It's in the UK right now, but I'm about to bring it home and retire it because I want my skirt back before it, like, gets lost.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Wow, that is so amazing. So, oh, your original one is so do you know how many of the pictures have been from the original one?
I do keep track of it. I don't know off the top of my head, but I could look it up because I have a whole, like, the accountant in me, I have a whole color coded, like, spreadsheet of where each one has gone. So, yeah.
That's so neat. Wow. Well, so I admire you for how you have paid forward the grief and the loss that you have and turned it into a way to support other women that are going through the same thing and really turned it into a way to celebrate and remember the one that you lost um, and just put your arms around each other, link arms and create that community because, like you said, like even me sharing about my mom, I don't want to dishonor because it isn't the same thing as losing a child. And so, the to create a community where there is that deep understanding for each other is so beautiful what you've done.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had a lot of people who wore it who said it's like wearing a big hug from all the people that have worn it before them. And I think that's such a cool thing. And then it's also helping because it's a subject that's not really talked about. It's getting talked about more, but
Mhm.
there's still a lot of people who don't talk about it. So I think it's
Yeah.
showing that it's okay to share all the parts of your story. You don't have to keep them secret.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's also something you've created is like a safe space to talk about it because sometimes women who've lost a child, feel so awkward about, well, what do I say? Like when I introduced you of how many children you have, I've had other moms who lost a child that I'm friends with that were like, I don't know how to answer that question. Do I say four or do I say three or, what do I say? And so I love that by you being open to chat about it and talk about it, it creates a way. You're paving a path really for other moms to be like, okay, if Sarah said it that way, I can say it that way.
And that's my hope. I mean, because yeah, I hate that question. That's always a hard question to answer. And, just your whole life changes after going through this. And then pregnancy is not the same, parenting's not the same, like none of it's the same. So I think we really need to lean on each other, just as other communities do, like groups of people, who bond after going through cancer or after losing a parent or a sibling or a pet. I mean, they're all different, but they're all, you know, periods of grief in our life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what do you have coming up that folks can help you with to support you in what you're doing?
So, yeah, like I said, we are almost at 500 stories on the skirt. So, obviously, if anyone's interested in participating, I would love to have you. And common misconception, you do not have to be pregnant and you don't have to have a rainbow baby. You just have to have had a loss. And that's all.
Mhm.
And you can share your story because it's all about finding the rainbow again in life, which for everybody is not a baby.
Mhm.
So, that's just a point I want to emphasize. So,
Okay, so like me losing my mom, that was a loss. So someone could come in and share their story and contribute.
mhm. Yeah, so it's not, yeah, a lot of people use it for maternity pictures, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be that.
Mhm.
And then, like you mentioned earlier, about to start season 4 of the podcast that comes back at the beginning of May, so would love to have more listeners there too. Those are my 2
Yeah.
kind of big things coming up.
Yes, and I'm telling you guys that are listening, having a 4th season starting of a podcast, that is a huge accomplishment, so congratulations, and also just appreciating your, commitment to continuing to support and share, through your podcast of Finding Hope After Loss. So can you share a little bit more about what the listener will find when they go to find your podcast and see your episodes?
Yeah, so a lot of them are people sharing their stories of going through infertility and loss, but then also there's, we touch on so many different things like trying to get pregnant again, parenting, pregnancy after loss, different ways that people have or haven't felt supported after loss, different ways that they've dealt with grief, just various things like that. So it's kind of a wide open space, but all surrounding infertility and loss.
Mhm. Okay, so there's a heavy focus on that, but then there's other focuses as well that kinda springboard from.
Yeah, because it's those subjects that kinda integrate into your everyday life, so it's not just people telling their stories,
Yeah.
but that is a big part of it.
Yeah. Oh, I do, all the stories are important. All the stories matter. And, you know, when we know we're not alone, that is so important to help us to move forward, to know that we are normal, that
Yes.
what is normal is not just normal for us, it's normal for others as well. And, that empowers us to come out of hiding. And, one of the things we talk about in the recovery world is that we're as sick as our secrets. And so being able to come out into the open and share helps us to heal and helps us to be well. And when we do that, then it empowers other people to do the same.
I definitely agree. It's been helping other people heal has helped me heal too.
Mhm. Oh, that's wonderful. So, I'm so excited for this episode that we've done today and wondered what you would give as a piece of advice to someone who knows someone who's experiencing a loss. What can they do to be the most supportive that they can through that time?
I think the most important thing to remember is that as much as you want to, you can't fix it. So
Mhm.
the biggest thing you can do is just say, "I'm here for whatever you need. I'm here to listen." And, don't try to say like, "Well, there was a reason for it," or, things like that. Just saying, "I'm here. Tell me what you need. I'm sorry this really sucks."
Mhm.
That's just the biggest, most important thing you can do.
Wow, what a good piece of advice, and not obvious, because I think in the human spirit a lot of times we do want to make it better.
Yeah,
And sometimes we can't, like you said, fix it, but we can make it better just by simply sitting beside them and saying, I'm here for you.
exactly. I mean, I know I'm a fixer. I want to fix things too, but there are just things that we can't. And then sometimes, even though we're not meaning to, we can inadvertently like make it worse by some of
Yeah.
the things we say,
Yeah.
which I'm guilty of too.
Yeah, me too, girl. So, and with the children, the other children, like when we see children in a family that's going through a loss, going through, a hard time like that, what advice do you have for what can we do to support the children?
I think just if you're a family that talks about like we include Jasmine in our family. So we have birthday celebrations, we have, all of these things. So they all feel like she's included as part of the family. And then I think it's just making sure to answer their questions the best you can, even though the questions can be emotional for you and hard sometimes. Like my 5-year-old, she wasn't born at the time, she never got to meet her, but she talks about the sadness she has for not being able to and for missing her sister and things like that. So yeah, those moments do make me really sad, but I just try to acknowledge her feelings, answer her questions, and if I have to cry, I sometimes just go do that by myself.
Yeah, yeah, and just make her feel important, for like it's okay. Uh,
Yeah.
giving children permission to ask and not feel like, well, I can't say anything. I love how you say you celebrate her birthday and things like that. So that really opens the door where the children in your family can ask and, remember and process and have a safe space to do that.
Yeah, we definitely make her, as big a part of our family as we can. And like I have her picture hanging in my office on my wall, and we we had her cremated, so we have her little urn on our mantle. And so I mean, there's little pieces of her everywhere. We have a weighted bear that we use for family photos. Sometimes they fight over who gets to hold the bear. So
Aw. Oh, that's so neat, and I love that these are more ideas of, like, how families can incorporate their child that has gone to heaven and still keep them a part of things. So, yeah.
yeah, you don't have to do something grand and big every year. Just, like having a simple birthday party. We just sing happy birthday and, have a cake or a cupcake. It's not anything major, but it's really meaningful to our family.
Mhm. Mhm. That's good. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You are significant and sharing your story and also your hope with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope this episode inspired you to embrace your own God given purpose. If this episode inspired you and blessed you, would you please share it out with a friend who needs to be reminded of their own significance? And remember to hit subscribe. Until next time, remember to walk in faith, find the joy, and stand in your significance.